We're here with Mike Miles of Miles Securement, the inventor of the Cradle. Mike, tell us about the inspiration behind the Cradle.
So, so it was early in my career, and I didn't know a whole lot about hauling coils or anything really. I ran a land haul trailer for a towing and recovery place. Got it called out to an accident early in the morning before my shift. Got there, the wreck was just gruesome. The cab was knocked off the chassis. The chassis was 2 lanes and 100 yards across the street. The engine to the semi was out of the chassis. Inside the sleeper and the cab was just a crime scene. It was gruesome. I had never witnessed anything like that before. So I go talk to the DOT officer, and I'm sick to my stomach, because I'm used to seeing this stuff. And I asked him, I was like, "Man, what happened?" And he pointed out a coil of steel laying in the middle of the road, and said, "That's what happened." I said, "Well, why wasn't it secured? Well, he wasn't doing his job. What happened?" He said, "You could put as many chains as you wanted to on this, and it would not have stopped that from happening." And I didn't really comprehend at the time. I just remember thinking, that is not an acceptable answer for somebody losing his life. Why wasn't it secured correctly? And as I learned more about the trucking industry over the years, it came to me that this is a subpar way of hauling this. This is a dangerous way of hauling this. And for some reason, it just became accepted. I didn't understand that. And I couldn't grasp the idea of why is this method of hauling something so dangerous accepted when everything else is getting safer.
And when you say this method, you are referring to the current
Yes.
coil rack system with
Yeah.
the 4x4s
Yeah.
and the
The
coil rack.
notched 4x4s
Okay.
where they're notched one corner off at an angle.
Yeah.
And it's just subpar the way the whole thing, it doesn't make any sense. It's dangerous. They're hauling a loaded gun with the way that coil, those 4x4s are so far in. When they set it down, let me back up. When they pick it up in the mill, they pick it up and that coil goes leg shape. When they sit it down on that 4x4, it actually sits like this. Now that static pressure is not in the center. The static pressure is outside. It's ready to roll by putting it on those 4x4s. And what happens as it's going down the road, that the coil, it's a coil, it, it's constantly moving. It's shifting. That little back chain gets loose. The front chains get loose. The front chains get loose. Now every time you're stopping, this thing's shifting just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. And the chain may be rated for 10,000 pounds, maybe rated for 6,000 pounds, depending on the size of the chain. But that's dramatically reduced when you have the crack the whip. So what happens? It's pulling, it's pulling, it's pulling. So it's not tight. So what happens? That chain is constantly getting flexed and pulled and pulled and pulled. Then boom, you could come up to a stop sign, 30 miles an hour, normal stop, and that thing still break every chain, roll right into your sleeper, or worse, you have a day cab roll right into you, or worse than that, rolls off onto the car next to you, who is just has the misfortune of being next to you. Now, with the cradle system, with it being in a cradle, you're slowing down that kinetic energy to the point where now kinetic energy only likes a straight line. Anytime you get kinetic energy to have to change direction, it doesn't like that.
You're losing energy at
You're
that
losing
point.
energy, exactly right. Um, Generic example of that is pushing a broke down car, hit a curb. But you just bounce right back. Uh, Pushing a grocery cart, you run into a pebble on a gigantic wheel, you're stopping. So anytime kinetic energy, especially round things roll.
Mm.
That's the danger. And my thought process behind this is stop it from rolling. You're eliminating the danger, or at
Okay.
least dramatically reducing the
So
danger.
explain to us how the coil sitting in the cradle accomplishes this goal.
Sure, absolutely. So by it sitting in a cradle during braking, hard braking, normal braking, any kind of braking of a semi, what's happening, your kinetic energy is not anymore in a straight line, doing 50 mile an hour to a stop. You're not in a straight line, 30 mile an hour stop, whatever. You're not in a straight line. That kinetic energy is going down. That's why everything goes down when you brake. You know, your car is a perfect example of that. Probably even easier to tell on a car than front bumper drags the ground, hit your brakes too hard, right?
Yeah.
So with it being in a cradle, as opposed to, well, I call it the chain of prey method, where you stick it in a 4x4 notched off, you're actually accentuating that. You're actually exaggerating, and of course, this is exaggeration, but you're actually aiding in
Almost
this
like
coils.
a fulcrum.
Right. Yeah, because the 4x4 is underneath, and you're actually helping it roll because you're not stopping a straight line. You're actually going down. Right.
Okay.
With it being in a cradle, you're actually in the cradle. So when you sit that coil down, it's egg shaped when they pick it up. Then when they sit it down, it actually kind of folds in on itself. So now it's fighting itself right off the bat. Right off the bat, it's fighting itself in the cradle, which slowing everything down. So that by sitting in there, you're going to have to change this kinetic energy from a straight line going down the road, going down to braking. Now to jump out of there, you're going to have to go up and over the cradle. If that's not enough, right? So we at Miles Securement, we put a pin on the front, pin on the back, so now you're chained over top to hold that coil in the cradle. This will virtually eliminate any slow under 30, 35, 40 mile an hour accident. Eliminate it. Virtually eliminate it if used properly, because we've eliminated its ability to roll.